You've probably heard that love is a mystery, and that it is not always easy to find the one God has chosen for you. Well, that's not quite the case. The scriptures are filled with evidence that God can provide signs to guide you in your search for your soulmate. Whether it's through a confirmation in your spirit or an outright sign, God is more than capable of letting you know who that person is. Here are 5 things God will do when you find the one He has chosen for you. Number 1, He will give you the same spirit. When God brings you in contact with the person He has chosen for you, one of the first things He will do is to bestow you both with the same spirit. The reason why He does this is that when 2 people have the same spirit, they will both think and do things the same way. The 2 of you will feel as though you have known each other for a very long time, almost like long-lost friends. Even without even doing too much talking or introduction, you both will get along with each other without much resistance. Unlike the average relationship, which will give you a hard time of having to figure out a partner, even after years of being together, that which comes from God will be totally different. This type of relationship can be seen several times in the Bible. For instance, when Adam first saw Eve, he instantly felt a sense of joy, even though it was his first time meeting her. Adam felt as though they had been best friends. He felt a sense of peace within him. Likewise, in Genesis 24, when Rebekah was asked if she wanted to go meet Isaac, her husband, she felt a sense of peace and agreed to go. This is because God had already put within each other's hearts a reassurance of peace and confirmation. By giving you both the same spirit, He provides a foundational base on which you can both agree on in terms of values. It also means that when decisions need to be made, negotiations can happen quickly and harmoniously, since both parties tend to think along the same lines. When God brings you together with a matching spirit, even the most seemingly insurmountable obstacles can seem insignificant. Number 2, He gives you one voice. When God blesses you with a companion, one of the things that He gifts you with is a unified voice. That is, both of you will have similar views and opinions without misinterpretations. Having one voice means that both parties understand what is being said and the underlying meaning behind it. When God is not involved in a relationship, that language or one voice dissipates, and conversations can quickly become littered with misunderstanding. For example, in Genesis 11 verse 6, God said these people are of one language, and nothing that they set out to do shall be impossible for them. Even though the reference above refers to a different context, we can clearly see that even God acknowledges that when people have a single voice, they remain stronger. On the contrary, when God is not involved in a relationship, the devil becomes an active interpreter of what you are both talking about. That means when one party says something, the devil gives the other party a completely different interpretation of what was said. In the same Genesis 11 verse 7, the Bible says, "Let us go down and confuse their language so that they do not understand one another's speech." This concept is also heavily used by the devil. By confusing your language, you both will hear each other wrongly. In fact, you will hear what the other party never said or intended. But when God is behind a relationship, the Spirit of God regulates and interprets what the real messages were. And even where there was a wrong message given, the Spirit of God will prevent or restrict the other party from taking what was said out of context. Instead of the devil twisting up your words and leading to assumptions and wrong interpretations, the entire communication is clear, with no room left for misinterpretations to cause doubts and confusion. Number 3, God does the work. Long before you meet the person God has chosen for you, He already begins to do the work of teaching them the basics of a good relationship, so that you don't have to. This means when you finally do meet your spouse, they will already know how to conduct themselves around you. Unlike ordinary couples who have to endure painful stages like correcting each other's wrongs, couples that are brought together by God have gone through divine training in advance and will save you the pain of teaching them right from wrong. This training saves you the stress of having to teach them every single thing about a good relationship. He teaches your spouse about the basics of what behaviors are acceptable and those that are not. Without having to tell them, they'll know that cheating and unfaithfulness are wrong, or that coming home late is irresponsible. This would come naturally to your spouse, and you wouldn't find yourself getting frustrated trying to correct a grown-up adult. Even where they do make mistakes and you correct them, a spouse who is given to you by God will receive your correction gracefully. They will readily admit they're wrong, apologize, and make up without it escalating. It is like living with someone who understands you internally. Thanks to the training God's Spirit gives them, your spouse will automatically know that a husband should provide and take care of his family. A wife-to-be, on the other hand, will know cooking for her home is natural. She will enjoy her role as a wife and will look forward to putting in her best. No party will see each other's tasks as a burden. This understanding will come to both parties naturally. This happens because, while they are dwelling on their own thoughts and worries, God is busy working in the background, connecting them together through the little things they do for each other and creating fateful moments. Number 4, a natural flow. Relationships ordained by God are meant to be gracefully flowing instead of forcefully commanded. When God orchestrates a union between two people, it is often characterized by non-resistance and serenity. No fits of frustration or anger over seemingly unnecessary disputes. Instead, there exists a mutual respect that keeps both parties humble and grateful for each other. This natural flow of love brings out the best in both partners, prompting them to be a better version of themselves in every aspect of their connection. The woman, for instance, takes pleasure in preparing meals. The man in the relationship will not feel ashamed or embarrassed to help out in the kitchen or help his wife look after the kids in the night when she is sleeping, just as the woman will not feel the need to control or dominate the man. This type of relationship is a perfect symbiosis and joy that comes from being part of something so much bigger than either of them. No longer will there be arbitrary roles and expectations dutifully handed down from previous generations to define the parameters of a relationship. Instead, with God's blessing, both partners act not out of pressure and guilt, but from a place of understanding, compassion, and respect. When God brings both together, it will flow with harmony, not because it has been taught or learned, but because it is simply how it is supposed to be. Because even when life throws them curveballs, God will make sure that when He brings two people together, they work it out the right way. Number 5, extreme tolerance. When God brings you the one He wants for you, extreme tolerance becomes the trademark of the relationship. Your partner will know instinctively when to look past your flaws and forgive with grace. There won't be any bitterness or resentment that's harbored and left to fester. Instead, it will almost immediately be released in form of grace and compassion. Your partner will be accepting of your flaws and shortcomings, just as you too would do the same for your beloved. You will both understand that mistakes can and will be made at times, but these missteps won't be the reason for a wedge in the relationship or an excuse to push away from each other. The divinely blessed partner won't succumb to anger as soon as things don't go their way, but instead will come from a place of understanding, contentment, and security. This sets your God-given relationship apart from others based on casual meetings or superficial attraction. Even when tolerance and forgiveness can become difficult, both parties are bound by a shared knowledge that any disharmony between them is sinful in the eyes of God. Above all else, the biggest gift this soulmate of yours will give is an unrivaled tolerance and acceptance that you both need and deserve in your relationship. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. If you love our videos, please feel free to subscribe to our channel.